It's here. Imagine if you could take Starlink and blazing fast 5G internet, combine them in one ultra sleek enclosure for your marine or RV or whatever application. That's the Antenna Max S. It's here. It's awesome. Come along with us. I'll tell you all about it. Hey folks, Eric with mobilemustHave.com, and today's an exciting day. And of course I have a cold. So sorry if I sound a little bit raspy, and we're not in the studio because we never launch cool products when we're in the studio. We want to get out on the road. So sorry if the lighting changes or there's a little bit of noise from the fountain behind me, but I'm sure we'll get through it and survive. So this is Peplink's new Antenna Max S enclosure, and what it's trying to do, and we've been working on this for a long time, and I can tell you there's a lot of ways for this to go wrong, and there's a reason no one's done this really yet. Not professionally, in my opinion. There's been some cobbled together solutions, but this is the first one we've seen at a kind of production level, mass production level that's awesome. What this is doing is this is taking this, we know what this is a Starlink Mini dish here, and it's taking something like this. This is a Peplink BR1 Pro 5G, ultra fast, blazing fast 5G cellular device, and it's combining them into one easy to install enclosure that can go up on the roof, up on a mast, up on a pole, pretty much just about anywhere where you'd like it to go, fixed mount installation on a roof. And it's allowing you to control all of this with one single Ethernet cable coming down from the roof that can become an absolute game changer for mobile internet. So we're going to geek out for a bunch later, depending on how deep you want to go. Obviously, our support department has wiring diagrams and everything to get this running. We'll talk through in this video powering, cabling, all that stuff. But before we get into that, at the very highest level, like early in this video, I kind of want you guys to understand why you would want to do this, because maybe people are thinking, why would you want Peplink and Starlink or 5G and Starlink? I don't get it. So Peplink and Starlink partnered, officially partnered a ways back. And Starlink opened up their APIs and their dish controls to Peplink. Because Starlink realized just how powerful Peplinks are. It's called the Peplink and Starlink Alliance. And we're a Peplink and Starlink Alliance partner. So you can pick up the Starlink, the Peplink, everything. We're a Peplink partner, Platinum partner, etc. But the point being, this device has a Starlink controller inside of it. So, if you've read the reviews about the Starlink Mini, there's not a lot of bad things to say about it other than the wireless. It has an integrated router inside of it, and the router's not very good. It's really designed kind of like a hotspot. 3 or 4 devices on a picnic table in a pinch. That's what it's kind of good at. You try to run your whole RV off of the router inside of here, and it just struggles. It doesn't have a powerful routing capability. It wasn't designed for that. Complemented with that is that the wireless, the local transmission of Wi-Fi in this Starlink is also terrible. It barely has any range. It's not good at all. So by pairing these together, you can disable the embedded router in the Starlink. It's easy to do right in the app. We'll have instructions on how to do that. And you can enable this to control the Starlink. And now the Starlink and your 5G connection are all available on a central dashboard. A central dashboard that can do everything, including manage additional external access points, create high-level custom routing, anything you can think of that you want to do with inbound applications, inbound traffic management, outbound traffic management, combining multiple connections together. This device will allow you to bond or connect the Starlink and the 5G into one unified connection. So if the Starlink goes out for a second, the 5G will take over and vice versa. That's all embedded into this command center. It's kind of like a mobile centralized command deck of your internet. This can also pick up campground Wi-Fi, so you could use that as an additional internet source. The point being, it's like it unifies all of this stuff and makes it all work together. We'll dig into that a little bit more in future videos. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about this product, but we're going to move on to just showing you how it all fits together and kind of what's under the hood. what we've got here is we've got kind of a three-piece section coming up from the bottom. And this is a very innovative design that allows the Starlink, which is already inherently weatherproof or waterproof and comes with waterproof connectors, but generates a lot of heat. This thing generates a lot of heat. If you've ever had a dish like this in full power mode, this is not something you can put into an enclosure without cooling fans, and cover it up and have it perform optimally. A lot of people don't know that if this gets over, I think it's 105 degrees, it goes into low power mode, and that significantly reduces your speed and your performance. You want to keep this dish as it was designed to be out in the open out here. I'm not going to kind of put this all together, but the concept being that this is your top piece here, which is where your dish lives. We're going to take a step further down, and we're going to see here, now we have another weatherproof enclosure. And this opens up, and that hides where you're going to have your sensitive electronics that are going to power your 5G devices. Now, before we get deeper into that, I'll just spend 2 seconds on this. We talked to a lot of people who are diehard 5G customers. They're like, 5G is great. We don't know what you're talking about. It's faster than Starlink. Don't compare it to your cell phone. When you get a great antenna, we have coverage everywhere. And then we have diehard Starlink customers who are like, it's the only thing that works. When we're in national parks, I love it. I go to Canada, I go to Mexico. I myself am right in the middle. I like to park under trees. I like to go wherever I want to go, and I just want my internet to work. I don't want to think about where I'm parking. I don't want to think if I have 5G service. I don't want to think if I like shade. I want it to work everywhere. That's where this gets just awesome. That's why you want this. The ability to combine 5G, like if you were looking at RoamLink, which is our wireless carrier, you'd get the entire Verizon network, the entire AT&T network, the entire T-Mobile network, the entire US cellular network, and the entire world with the Starlink network, and you'd be able to deal with obstructions, parking under a tree, rain, all the things that Starlink struggles with, all in one enclosure. So that's the idea. That's the reason why you're into something like that. We'll talk a little bit about RoamLink later on, but the point is you'd get all of those networks for one low price. That's what we built with the RoamLink wireless network. But moving down below this, this enclosure, this is essentially going to be screwed down when it's in its final design and configuration and sealed. So there's, if we pull this off for a second, you'll notice that there is an area all around here that's going to basically lock directly up to this rubber gasket that you're seeing all around this edge. And that's going to keep everything that's inside of here watertight. Now, you may ask, how are you going to get your Starlink cables down into this to plug into your router? And that's where these holes come into play. And these are where we will screw in our cable glands that are included in the kit to secure down. Now, one of the things that Peplink has done is they've included everything you need to get this thing going, with the exception of your power over Ethernet power supply, which you can source from mobilemusthave.com, but we'll talk about kind of why that is in a minute, because some folks already have 24 volts up on the roof, maybe with a roof rack. Or if it's marine, there's 24 volts in a lot of places. Or they have 12 volts and they can use a small step-up converter to get to 24 volts. So not everyone's going to want to use this with power over Ethernet. But for our installation purposes, we want to use it over a single Ethernet cable. So we've already thought of, tested it, and designed and deployed a PoE injector solution that will power this whole kit. We'll talk about a bit later. But it's a good time for me to mention just how much Peplink has thought about what's going on in this kit and just how many accessories they've included. They've included that Starlink Ethernet cable that you need, and they've made it short. They've included the Starlink power cable that you need to get from the dish into here, and they've made it short. They've included everything, the cable glands. They've included everything. There's not a single thing in here I was like, oh, you missed it. Moving into this section, what you see here is an aluminum base. It's a metal base that is acting as a giant ground plane inside of this antenna, and it's also acting as a heat dissipator to make sure heat comes out of this case and gets out through the bottom of the device. Peplink knows a lot about heat because they are using that technology that has kind of made them famous for vehicle application, high heat, sensitive electronics, and they've applied it here. And they're learning quite a bit about antenna manufacturing as well, which is why the entire base of this antenna is essentially acting as a ground plane, so that when cell signals come through, they bounce off the antenna and into the cellular antennas here. We've got a 7-in-1 antenna solution that's integrated into the Antenna Max S. So we've got 4 cellular antennas, 2 Wi-Fi antennas, and a GPS antenna, all with the antenna leads right here, which we'll show you a close-up for in a second. I'll give you a close-up here of the device here with one of the newer BR1 Pro 5Gs. This can accept all of the BR1 Pro 5G lines. This can accept the transit line, so you could technically put 2 4G LTEs in here and you'd have all the connections you need to get 2 redundant cellulars off of one of these. It would be LTE, not 5G, but that is an option, especially for someone who already has that transit, or for someone who would rather have 2 4Gs connected all at the same time than one single 5G. For like sensitive work, remote applications, that may be better. I'd rather have 2 4G connections than 1 5 if I'm doing Zoom and other sensitive work stuff. But it's to each his own. You can do both. And then you could put in the BR1 Mini, like the Mini 5G would also be a great application. The Mini 5G with Wi-Fi would work out well. We'll put a complete list of compatible routers, and they could change over time. But the point being, you can get quite a bit of the Peplink line into this enclosure. As you can see here, kind of where these antenna leads are, this is where the router is going to sit. And then on this other side here, you'll see this metal plate. This is designed to hold your power accessories or your PoE splitter, which we'll get into a minute. Down below, right down central in the bottom of the antenna, you'll notice there's a plugged hole there that is available if you want to run this on a pole mount application. And Peplink has included the entire bracketing kits for the pole mount application, and they've included the 3M gasket for the roof installation application, all in the base kit. The optional kits that you can get that are not available yet, but they're coming, are the magnet mount application, which I'll show you a picture there of what the magnet mounts are slotted to look like. And then they're revising one of their antenna masts applications for marine. They're building that out of just some amazing stainless steel grade, and they've made some slight adjustments to that adapter so it'll work with this and then also be backwards compatible for other antennas. So they're basically upgrading that mast. We've got the part numbers available, and they will be available for pre-order, but they're just not out yet. But right out of the box, you get the ability to surface mount this on a roof or do a pole mount application. Another thing you could do with this inlet straight on the bottom is if you were in an RV or a marine application where you were right above your cabin or the inside of an RV like this one, is you could actually go straight down from where you install this with an Ethernet cable, and then you could run an additional access point inside of the cabin. So outside, the wireless that you were running from here could be used for Wi-Fi as WAN or marina Wi-Fi or campground Wi-Fi to pick up the public Wi-Fi. And then you could go straight down from here and have another access point like an APAX light inside the cabin, and that would broadcast your local Wi-Fi. And you'd be able to run it all from this one case up on the roof without having to run any additional wires, especially long runs to all sorts of locations. Moving on to just finish the walk around here. On the exterior side here, we've got a pressure release valve here to just ensure that air can equalize inside of the system. And then we've got 2 Ethernet ports that come with the weatherproof covers on them so that you can run your Ethernet cables into the device. Again, they could come up through the bottom. And then you have a DC inlet port here, weatherproof inlet port that is technically it's a 3-pin connector here, but it's really wired for just positive and negative DC. And the other side of this cable is included in your kit. So if you've got like a roof rack or something where you've already got your power up on the roof, you can pop in right with this and not worry about power over Ethernet. Now our support department and the wiring diagrams we've put together are going to get through the nitty-gritty and the details with you on how to do a deep dive install like this. It's not hard, one wire up to the roof. But since you got to do some planning and this is a big purchase, I want to kind of cover at a high level how all this works in the brief video that we're doing right now, so you kind of understand what you're up against and can make an informed decision. So if you're going to want to power this with power over Ethernet or one Ethernet cable up to the roof, you're going to use something called a PoE injector, and that's going to put power onto the Ethernet line. Now be careful, please don't run out onto Amazon and go, I found a PoE injector for 18 bucks, and go get that. It's probably, actually, definitely not going to work. Not all PoE injectors are created the same. That Starlink dish is going to consume at max 60 watts of power, a Peplink router at max 21 watts of power. So you're talking about, what's that, 80 watts, and then you're going to have some loss on the cable. So you're going to need to know that you have way more power than average PoE or power over Ethernet can handle. Normal PoE is 30 watts, that's PoE plus. Like normal PoE is even less, like 15, 20. PoE plus plus can come out at like 45 watts. And the new standard that we're talking about is called 802.3 BT, like Bluetooth. And that's a 95 watt standard. If you're on our listing page and you pick up the PoE injector and splitter accessories that you see on this listing page, that's all been tested with this gear and it's going to work. Please be careful. Don't call us and say, I don't know, it's not powering up. I didn't get the PoE injector from you. It's probably not the right PoE injector, so just be aware of that. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, how does a PoE injector work? Well, here's a picture of a little PoE injector, and it's very simple. You apply 12 up to 48 volt voltage into this device. So it'll take any voltage. If you have 12 volt batteries, 24 volt batteries, or 48 volt batteries, you just plug your DC wire directly into that green terminal post there. Now make sure you give yourself some nice gauge wires. You're trying to run 100 watts of power off of this device. Don't run little dinky 18 gauge, speaker wire up to this thing. Get some nice good copper terminals and connect it up to a 12 volt source like a fuse panel or directly to the battery where you know you're going to have enough power. And obviously make sure you fuse that input. Depending on your voltage, you're going to want to just make sure you fuse it for 100 watts. So if it's 12 volt circuit, put a 10 amp fuse in it. So that's just kind of a high level there. But you get power into that device, then you run your Ethernet cable up to this box. That Ethernet cable you're going to run is going to want to be a shielded Cat 6 minimum. You could use Cat 5e, but just use Cat 6. We have marine grade Cat 6 cables. When you buy with Cat 6, you tend to get a thicker gauge copper, and you're just going to prevent yourself from having issues, especially with longer cable runs when you're running that much power over the wire. That's another reason why you want to make sure you get a shielded cable. On this listing page, you'll see various lengths for shielded cables, and that should be able to get you what you need. From our PoE injector, we look at the PoE out port, and we plug our Ethernet cable into that, and then we go up to this enclosure. We hop into the enclosure, and you may ask yourself, you probably won't, but I ask myself, why do I need a shielded cable if these connector ports aren't shielded? It's a good question. It's just a good idea to use a shielded cable. It's going to help protect your power over Ethernet and your Ethernet signals from any external interference, especially if you're on a marine application, you've got radar or something like that, always shielded cables. But it's just something to note. You're going to come into this device via those Ethernet ports, and then you're going to plug in to the PoE input side of the PoE splitter. The boxes look almost identical, but if you notice on the front, one will say injector and one will say splitter. One's designed to send the power and one's designed to receive the power. The PoE splitter that's going to go in here will be mounted to this metal plate that you see right here. The screw holes will line up perfectly here with the L bracket that's included, and you'll be able to have that mounted right inside of here. Now, the PoE splitter is going to take the power from the Ethernet cable, the PoE power, and it's going to split it out at 24 volts DC on the green terminal that you see in this picture. Now, you may be asking yourself why you need a PoE splitter and why would we run at 24 volts? Well, the Starlink does not run on 48 volts like PoE does. It has a max voltage of, I believe, 30 or 36 volts. So 24 volts is a really nice middle of the road standard that makes the Starlink Mini very happy, and it also happens to be a voltage that the Peplink is very comfortable with as well. If you're thinking about a setup like this, I highly recommend you check out our memberships at membership.mobilemusthave.com. With our memberships, you save 10% on a purchase like this. You get upgraded complimentary 2-day shipping on most devices, definitely Peplink routers. And the membership can easily pay for itself in the first purchase, very easily. If you're looking at data plans like our Roamlink wireless plans, you can save $10 per month on the data plans, $120 per year savings, and then with the 10% discount, it more than pays for itself. You also get access to the Mobile Internet Resource Center, where we have tons and tons of guides about how to get this stuff all working, how to work with how to enable the Starlink controller, how to optimize the Peplink to work with Starlink. Do you know what TCP ramp is? Do you know what forward error correction is? If you don't, that's a reason to join the membership. We help you really dial all of this stuff in to make it all work as best as possible. You also get access to our Starlink and our Peplink forums, so you can talk through questions, talk to other members, talk about your solution, talk to how you're trying to get it all going, and we're all there and available to help inside of the community. There's also cash back towards future purchases, a whole list of other benefits, so make sure you check that out at membership.mobilemusthave.com. Peplink shipped a very limited batch of these, but there's a large shipment coming behind them. We've got pre-orders available now for these, and we're very serious about fulfilling our pre-orders in the order that they're received. And for those that don't know, we also do address verification. So if you're on the road, you simply let us know, that you're a traveler, and we will verify where you are or where you're going to be when this device is going to land for you, so that you can order now or pre-order, get your spot in line saved, and know that it's going to show up at the right place when you get there. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in this, or maybe you have some questions, you can always reach out to an expert at talk.mobilemusthave.com. We'll schedule a mutually agreed time for you to speak to an expert to talk through your needs and questions. And it's just a great way for you to get a good dialogue going with an expert without having to sit on hold. If you want to call us, you can. Our phone number is up in the top left-hand corner of our website. And if you have a quick question, you can always just reach out by going to our website at mobilemusthave.com and go to the bottom right-hand corner and start up a chat with one of our experts. You can also always email us at info@mobilemusthave.com. Thank you guys so much for joining us, talking about the Antenna Max S, and we'll see you on the road.